So, the character I'm about to introduce all of you to is probably one of the most famous characters in Warhammer. He is beloved, and the crazy thing is he's only got one story written about him. But that's the thing. Sometimes you only need one story, as long as it's a good one. And he's got one of the best. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to the lore and explanation of the Ancient, the one who remembers, venerable of the Palatine host, and the one who waited 10,000 goddamn years for his revenge, Rylanor, Ancient of Rights.
AK warning. The view project is
Rylanor, the absolute madman who slept with a virus bomb for 10,000 years just to be able to give his Primarch the middle finger. You brilliant bastard.
If you've ever held a grudge against someone for a long period of time, today's topic of conversation could very well be your spirit animal. You may have been pissed off for a few days, maybe a month to even a decade. Rylanor was pissed right the fuck off for 10,000 years. Rylanor was an OG Emperor's Children Legionnaire, and he was an absolute turbo Chad. He was one of the few who actually fought beside the Emperor during the Unification Wars on Terra, back when the Emperor's Children were simply called the Third and were given the honors Roma and Thule to etch into his own personal armor. He didn't join the Third, he was the Third, one of the founding members. He was the first to be the standard bearer to the Palatine Aquila that only the Emperor's Children could carry into battle. At some point after Fulgrim joined the Legion, the Emperor's Children were fighting some Eldar, and upon seeing Rylanor...
Also, I fucking love this picture. When you party too hard and birth the Chaos God, the jazz music stops. I love this picture so much. But yes, Rylanor was one of the originals. Rylanor was not only was one of the first Thousand Sons to be one of the first people to be turned into a Space Marine. Many people died from the procedure. Not Rylanor, and he was actually there fighting, like he said, fighting alongside the Emperor on Terra during the Unification Wars. And yeah, apparently, according to the lore, he fought directly alongside the Emperor. Like, he carried the standard into battle, so he always was right next to the Emperor. Rylanor's a big deal.
His jawline and cheekbones, the Knife Ears raged bitterly and did everything in their power to kill him out of sheer jealousy. Even though they ruined his good looks, his life was saved when he was interred in a Contemptor pattern dreadnought. At that point, there was much mourning over the loss of his jawline to the Legion's profile art, but they made up with it for sheer badass firepower. Eventually, Chad Rylanor was made the Ancient of Rights and carried out the rites of induction for the Third, all the while murdering anyone who didn't like the Emperor. This all started to go south when he wasn't invited to an orgy, a snake orgy to be more precise, in a temple dedicated to Slaanesh. His Primarch came back with a sword inhabited by a greater demon, a lot of the Third came back addicted to coke and whores, and a lot of the humans that visited came back acting like they had just dropped 4 gallons of acid and then snorted a line of crushed Viagra. In other words, he didn't like what he saw. Things just kept getting weirder aboard the flagship, and the Giga Chad Rylanor was getting more and more fed up. Then one day when he was issuing out battle assignments to a place called Istvan III,
Before we get to that, it wasn't just that. Rylanor found, even though he was the Ancient of Rights, Rylanor quickly began to notice that high-ranking members of the Emperor's Children, like Fulgrim, their Primarch, Eidolon, who was basically the commander of the First Company, and a lot of other people were excluding him. This made Rylanor a little suspicious, because as the Ancient of Rights, it's Rylanor's job to not only induct the new Marines, but it's also his job to be responsible for their, I guess, keeping track of their morale and their spiritual purity. And Rylanor, as he said, did not like what he saw. But every time he tried to bring it up to somebody, they always told him not to worry about it, or they told him to shut the fuck up. Now, granted, telling the Ancient of Rights to shut the fuck up is a very dumb idea. However, Rylanor, being the honorable guy that he was and the upstanding, moral character, didn't push it. Instead, he decided just to be an inspiration to the recruits and to the men. He wanted to lead by example. So he was the best Emperor's Children Marine he could be. And a lot of them respected him for that. There were a good amount of the Legion who, followed his example. About a third of them. The other 2/3 didn't. But regardless, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. But, yeah, then we got to Istvan 3. So
he was issuing out battle assignments to a place called Istvan 3. He noticed one of the most prissy bitches in the leadership structure and the biggest blowhard of the entire Legionis Astartes, Eidolon, had opted not to drop in the spearhead.
Yeah, this is Commander Eidolon. Eidolon was the commander of the First Company, which is basically the most veteran soldiers in the Emperor's Children. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I bumped into someone with that face on the street, I don't exactly think I'd call him trustworthy. No offense, but that does not look like the face I can trust. Honestly, that kind of looks like the face that would pull me into a back alley and do some horrible things to me. Given the fact what happens to Eidolon, that's basically true. But regardless, that is not the face you trust.
This made the Dreadnought's eyebrows raise because Eidolon sought more attention than an ugly stripper. It was at this point that Saul Tarvis came up and asked Gigachad 9000 Rylanor if he could just stay on board the ship and be Eidolon's right-hand man, using some old tradition as an excuse. Now Rylanor knew something wasn't right, and knew Saul Tarvis was lying to him about wanting to be Eidolon's anything, but he made the arrangement so Saul Tarvis would not go to Istvan 3, just because he had an idea something was absolutely wrong. So now, just so we get this storyline straight, Saul Tarvis is the guy that eventually found the virus bombs, and then ran and told Nathaniel Garrow, who then ran from the Istvan system and told Rogel Dorn, who then went home and told everyone. That's right, Rylanor is such a Chad, he's the entire reason this timeline exists.
That is not hyperbole, that is directly true. Before the drop at Istvan 3, Saul Tarvis, who was captain of the 3rd Company? Question mark? Might be 4th, I'm not sure. But Saul Tarvis knew something was up. He had already been suspicious of Eidolon and especially Fulgrim. So, yeah, he went to Rylanor and said, hey, can I stay on board the ship as, Eidolon's right-hand man? Now, of course, Rylanor's not stupid and knew, the guy, old man here said, that, yeah, he knew Saul Tarvis was lying to him, but he allowed it anyway. This was important because Saul Tarvis would spend the early parts of the Istvan campaign wandering the flagship, trying to see if there was anything wrong. Turns out there was. He found the virus bombs. Virus bombs are no joke in 40K. Virus bombs are planet killers. What happens with a virus bomb is that when a virus bomb detonates, it releases the Life Eater virus. This virus is so destructive that it turns all organic material into a thick, sludge of gunk. It literally breaks things down into this this pile of gunk and just goo that is extreme, that gives off a flammable gas. It literally breaks everything down molecule by molecule till it's nothing but an ugly refuse pile, and the gas it releases is flammable. So what ended up happening was...
Oh no.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly right. So, Saul Tarvis finds the virus bombs, realizes shit's about to go down. Saul Tarvis runs to Nathaniel Garrow, who is, Nathaniel Garrow, if I remember correctly, I think he's a lunar wolf. I'm not sure. But he goes to Nathaniel Garrow. No, Death Guard. Nathaniel Garrow is Death Guard. I'm sorry. He's one of Mortarion's guys. He goes to Nathaniel Garrow. Garrow steals a shuttle, flies back to tell Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn doesn't believe him at first and gets ready to kill Garrow. But he goes back and tells Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn then goes and tells the Emperor. Here's the thing. While that's happening, Saul Tarvis goes down to Istvan 3 with Rylanor, by the way. He tells Rylanor. Rylanor goes down with him, And it's Saul Tarvitz who starts warning everybody, the loyalists, by the way, because the traitors, because like I said, 2/3 of the Legion have turned traitor. They launched all of the loyalist brothers down onto the planet and then virus bombed the fuck out of it. This was their way of culling the legions of anyone who didn't follow chaos. Rylanor and Saul Tarvitz were down on Isstvan 3. Saul Tarvitz basically ran around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to warn everyone to find cover, take safety, do whatever, because the planet's about to be virus bombed, which he saves a lot of loyalists. Not all of them, but he saves a lot of them.
Ultra Giga Chad 9000 Rylanor was on Isstvan 3 when the virus bombs fell, and he was presumed dead, until he showed up and started killing traitors. Then he was presumed dead again, until he showed up and started killing more traitors. Then he was dead again, more dead traitors, kinda like Caiaphas Cain, only he actually went out to kill things.
Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. We'll talk about Caiaphas Cain at some point. Caiaphas Cain is... God, where do I start? Caiaphas Cain. And yes, you have to say it like that. Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. Caiaphas Cain is 40K's luckiest drunk. Like, he was not... He didn't drink or anything, but he's the luckiest man in the goddamn 40K universe, and we love him for it. He's literally the embodiment of, stop giving me your hardest battles, I can't take anymore.
Instead of just mistakenly winding up doing it. Rylanor being declared dead and coming back to kill more traitors was becoming a recurring theme until Angron was finally brought under control and Horus had had enough of losing troops in a needless battle. Horus recalled all the troops off of Isstvan 3 and ordered a mass bombardment of the surface. The only one that knew that Rylanor was still alive,
yeah, we'll do the deathcore video next,
was Lucius, and considering Lucius is about as reliable as a sprained ankle, nobody went to investigate, even though Lucius the Eternal always claimed that Rylanor had found and was guarding something.
Yeah, this is Lucius the Eternal. So, think about Lucius. Lucius is the Eternal was the greatest duelist in the Emperor's Children. But he fell to chaos. What's his deal now? Well, the thing about Lucius is that if somehow you kill Lucius in any way and take pleasure or take satisfaction in doing it, you will eventually turn into Lucius. Like, no joke. You will turn into Lucius and your face will become part of his armor. He's that fucked up. And there have been numerous ways people have been thinking, okay, well, how could you kill him and not feel any satisfaction? I mean, it doesn't matter if you, like, you know, like, people have even said, what if you dropped a nuke on him? Doesn't matter. If at any point someone thinks, I did a good job with that, they're going to turn into Lucius. So, yeah.
In truth, Super Ultra Giga Chad 9000 Rylanor was pissed off beyond all recognition at having been betrayed and at what his legion had become. And he blamed one person and one person alone, Fulgrim. Some people write angry poetry. Some people write angry blog posts. Some people make very angry 5-minute lore videos. Super Saiyan Ultra Giga Chad 9000 Rylanor went so above and beyond the call it was stunning. He MacGyvered loads of noise marine sonic weapons as well as other war gear and manipulated over 10,000 years into a fucking interstellar beacon, and he only had one mechanical hand with fingers the size of telephone poles. He then activated it and attracted Magnus's attention, who sent some thousand sons to investigate, who after 10,000 years had no idea they were going to the site of the first major betrayal of the Horus Heresy.
Yes, this is 10,000 years later. Rylanor survived for 10,000 years and put together a beacon to attract Fulgrim to him so he could kill him. This man thrived on spite, and I love him for it. It should also be noted the Thousand Sons were not at Isstvan 3. It's called the Drop Site Massacre, by the way. They did not know about the Drop Site Massacre. So they didn't know. I mean, there's two of them. There's the Isstvan 3 Drop Site Massacre and the Isstvan 5 Drop Site Massacre. But regardless, they didn't know that, you know, they didn't know about Rylanor. They didn't know about all the people that died on Isstvan. So, yeah.
When the 3,000 Sons got near Super Saiyan Ultra Giga Chad Kaioken times 9,000 Rylanor, the pure hatred he radiated blew up one of their hearts. Let me say that again. The sheer presence of that much hatred blew up the hearts of one of the Thousand Sons. They found the Ancient of Rites half buried under rubble, one leg destroyed and his side so dented they simply assumed the Astartes that was inside had to be dead. The dreadnought was laid next to a random assemblage of parts that was half insanity and half musical instrument. Before it could be unplugged, they discovered that love is a battlefield, but hatred is eternal. The dead dreadnought snatched one of them up, pointed a cannon the size of a battle tank at another, and basically told them not to
fuck with his music. Yeah. So Rylanor basically played dead, thinking it was Fulgrim, but when Vistario and his Thousand Sons arrived and tried to turn off the beacon, Rylanor grabs Vistario and is actually about to crush him and tells them, don't touch the beacon. And, there's a conversation between them. They're trying to figure out who he is, and he tells them, he's like, I am he who remembers. I am the Ancient of Rites. And immediately, all the Thousand Sons are like, oh, fuck, we're on Isfon 3, aren't we? Oh, shit.
They talked the Ancient of Rites down from murdering them, and then one of them figured out who he was and where they were. They asked if the device he had made was a distress beacon, but no.
Look for the blood god! Skulls for the skull throne!
Okay, in response to that, fuck you, Dad. Chaos is cringe. How dare you blood for the blood god in the presence of Rylanor, Ancient of Rites?
Was no beacon. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, Ultra Giga Chad, Kaioken times 9,000, Rylanor don't need no damn beacon. It was bait. Wonderful bait. Masterful bait. And Fulgrim fell for it, coming to see the master baiter himself. Now it's the 41st millennium and it's been a long time since Fulgrim was a respectable member of society. When he came to see who had baited him so masterfully, Fulgrim looked like what a back alley porn shop feels like. Filthy, disgusted, and loaded with shame. Fulgrim showed up in all of his whatever and started instantly talking shit, detailing how the Ancient looked and laughing at all the time Rylanor had waited and wasted and how much glory he had missed out on, and pretty much begged the Ancient Dreadnought to tell Fulgrim what the Ancient had been waiting to tell him for 10,000 years.
Bomb. That's basically what happened. That was his response. Bomb.
But Ultimate Baconator Edition Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Ultra Giga Chad Kaioken times 9,000 Rylanor wiped the smile right off of Fulgrim's face by simply moving to the side, revealing an undetonated virus bomb. A virus bomb that had fallen on Isfon 3. The next few moments went something like this.
Oh no!
Oh no! Damn it! Damn it! How dare you! Damn it! An ad?
It may not be tomorrow, darling. It may not even happen with an army at my back. But rest assured, I'm the man who's gonna kill you someday. I'll be seeing you.
Damn it! No. The whole joke.
Oh
Yeah.
no! Oh no!
Oh yeah!
The Thousand Sons instantly did everything they could to contain the explosion and were actually holding it back. And as Fulgrim saw they were keeping him from melting, he instantly went back to shit-talking mode. Fulgrim crushed the Ancient's assault cannon before he could fire it, and then ripped the arm off and tossed it to the side. Fulgrim was already planning on forcing Rylanor back to his side, willing or not. Rylanor tried to fight back, not caring if he lived or died, only caring that he take this mutated bastard with him. But at that point, the result of the fight between the two was a foregone conclusion. Fulgrim started to reach inside the cracks in the dreadnought armor. Rylanor continued to fight, swinging his fist up, hitting Fulgrim on the shoulder, but it wasn't even making the Primarch flinch. That's when Fulgrim told Rylanor that he would be sculpted into something beautiful. What Rylanor said next, I'm not going to abbreviate, I'm not going to exaggerate. This is the words that came out of the grill of the Dreadnought.
Never! All we have left is that we will die together! Hold on, I remember it by heart. All we have left between us is we will die together! I am Rylanor, of the Emperor's children, ancient of rights, venerable of the Palatine host, and proud servant of the Emperor, beloved by all, I reject you now and always!
I am Rylanor of the Emperor's children, ancient of rights, venerable to the Palatine host, and proud servant of the Emperor of mankind, beloved by all. I reject you now and always! Fulgrim only laughed at Rylanor, telling Rylanor that it really wasn't his choice.
Ugh.
Fulgrim then yanked Rylanor's body out of the sarcophagus that provided with life, even though the liquids inside were complete poison to the Astartes and the Val.
See shit. Oh, he's shooting the thing. Oh, he's laying down cover fire. Oh, he's shooting the walls. Oh, he's shooting me teammates. Myself. Me accuracy is 100%.
You just don't know what I was aiming at.
I love that.
1,000 Suns wondered at how Rylanor had survived at all. Fulgrim then pulled Rylanor's body towards him, holding him in his arms like some sort of perverse baby. And
I fucking hate Fulgrim. Fulgrim is so fucking creepy. Before he fell to chaos, Fulgrim was actually pretty chill. Fulgrim, yeah, maybe a little prissy, maybe a little up his own ass, but he could back it up, and he was a master craftsman. But after, like, just hearing about Fulgrim makes you uncomfortable.
At that point, Fulgrim told Rylanor that he would remake him, and he would be Fulgrim's crowning achievement. He had forgotten something, though. Fulgrim had forgotten the 1,000 Suns. As much as they were in shock at how much of a shit Fulgrim actually was, 2 out of the 3 of them were in flat-out awe of the Ancient. Compared to Super Size Ultimate Baconator Edition Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Ultra Giga Chad Kaioken times 9,000 Rylanor, Fulgrim was completely unworthy. One of the 1,000 Suns, Vistorio, then did to Fulgrim what Sigismund did to Abaddon.
Primarch Fulgrim. Rylanor deserves better than you. He deserves better than all of us.
And I would like to read the final part of the story where he says that. What do we do? The question was Murshid's, and the connection between the 1,000 Suns was so strong that Althanaean's perception for emotion spread to all 3 of them. Vistario felt Fulgrim's infinite malice, his cruel enjoyment of Rylanor's anguish, and the helplessness of the 1,000 Suns. The Primarch of the Emperor's children reveled in his overwhelming pride, a trait Magnus had more than once told Vistario had been present long before his fall. But more than anything, stronger even than Fulgrim's spite, Vistario felt Rylanor's pride and honor, the unbending core of greatness that had set him against his brothers and had seen him descend into obsessive madness beneath the surface of a dead world. Vistario took the measure of Fulgrim, and seeing nothing worthy in him, his warriors felt the moment his decision was made. Primarch Fulgrim! Sent Vistario. Rylanor deserves better than you. The Primarch looked up, his once bright eyes now black and filled with the darkest poison. He deserves better than all of us. He raised his bolter and fired a mass reactive into the back of Akhtar's skull. The Raptora's head exploded, and with his death, the psychic force holding back the warhead's detonation ended.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Vistario then shot the 1,000 Sun that was leading the efforts to contain the virus bomb's explosion, and he unleashed hell. At the end of the day, the Life Eater virus couldn't kill Fulgrim, nor could the explosion, but Vistario holds a special place in my heart forevermore. When Fulgrim slowly began to reform, he was nothing more than a broken piece of shit. Screwed up mentally beyond all reason, his ego absolutely destroyed in a final act of patience and hatred so profound, it was literally insane. But while Vistario holds a special place in my heart, nothing compares to the one, the only, Ancient of Rights, the unyielding, the one who remembers. Rylanor, because he is that fucking great.